Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us inside the Americas. Here's a look at what's coming up in today's show. As Donald Trump continues to crack down on illegal immigration, we'll take a look at people on the run up north to Canada. Then, could your computer, smartphone, or even TV be spying on you? Details of the new WikiLeaks information dump linked to the CIA on the way. And transsexuals may be the celebrated queens of Brazil's famous carnivals, but they are often ostracized, persecuted, or killed. I'm Jeannie Godula. This week, Donald Trump released a watered-down version of his controversial travel ban. There are now 6 mainly Muslim countries on that list after Iraq was taken off. The new ban is similar to the first one, but has been changed in significant ways to pass muster with the courts. For one, the new restrictions gave travelers 10 days to prepare for the changes. And crucially, the new order exempts permanent U.S. residents and existing visa holders. But regardless of that watered-down ban, Trump's win last November has pushed a wave of migrants crossing the border from the U.S. to Canada. Many are fearful of the new administration's stance on immigration and are hoping Canada will give them a home.
This Pakistani family hope they're making a walk to freedom from the U.S. to Canada.
We came for the asylum, but
we are afraid.
The family of 4 are among the hundreds that have crossed here since Donald Trump was elected U.S. president.
Trump's policy.
It's not good. We are very scared. We need to just cross the border, that's it.
They know that crossing here will get them arrested by the Canadian police. But that's what they want. Many migrants are worried that in the U.S. they'd be deported back to their home countries under President Trump's new policies, and they hope Canada will grant them asylum. Some, like this Syrian family who are living in Massachusetts, can afford drivers to bring them here from hundreds of miles away. More often, migrants get the bus to nearby Plattsburgh, where locals say taxis charge as much as $300 for the half-hour drive to the border. The migrants aren't always Muslim. This family came from Haiti. But most do have one thing in common: concern about the new US president.
Maybe we could have stayed in the US, but now, given the situation with Trump, we don't want to stay.
The nearest official border crossing is here at L'École. But immigrants don't come here because of an agreement which says migrants who make it to the US must apply for asylum there. If they can make it over the border without coming into contact with US authorities, they can apply in Canada. The Canadian police say migrants are being given information in their home countries on how to get here.
Most of them are not running away from Trump. They're running away from other events in their country of origin. So what we've noticed is that there are agencies in the country of origins that explain to people how to get here.
While the Canadian police deny Trump's policies are the main cause for the rise in migrants crossing the border, it may yet take a policy change in the White House to slow the human traffic on the road to Canada.
Also this week, WikiLeaks dropped another major bombshell, releasing some 9,000 documents that allegedly reveal cyber hacking techniques used by the CIA. Year Zero is the first data dump in a series called Vault 7, showing the government hacking computers, smartphones, and even smart TVs. For more on this now, I'm joined on the set by Deeptika Laurent, who's been taking a look at all of this. Deepti, give us the details.
Well, Jeannie, here we're talking about almost 9,000 documents between 2013 and 2016. WikiLeaks hasn't published the actual hacking tools, just given us an idea of what the CIA was capable of doing. These documents suggest that the CIA has built tools specifically to turn ordinary household objects into a listening device, or simply by manipulating security weaknesses in these devices. In the case of Samsung's smart TVs, they built a tool called Weeping Angel that allows them to hack into a TV while it's turned off. Now, according to WikiLeaks, they could also bypass the encryptions in secure apps like WhatsApp So it's not just a handful of targets we're talking about here. We're talking about anyone and everyone who could have been spied on by the CIA in their daily lives.
And this doesn't just concern the United States. WikiLeaks say people from all over the world have been spied on.
Well, that's right, because these documents actually came from the CIA's Center for Cyber Intelligence in Virginia. But we learned that the agency had a covert bureau in Frankfurt as well. Hackers there were able to spy on countries all across Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
How did this leak first come out?
Well, Wikipedia says that these cyber weapons were illegally distributed among former U.S. government hackers and contractors, and one of those people has apparently passed it on to WikiLeaks. Now, essentially what it means is that the CIA lost control of cyber weapons that it created.
And why is this data dump so serious?
Well, the fact that the CIA hack and spy on us, that's not really a surprise. That's kind of what their job is. But what's serious here is a lack of security. These hacking techniques are now public and can be manipulated by anyone. None of this information is safe anymore. That's why it's serious. And this leak will also raise tensions with Silicon Valley tech companies, because if the CIA knew of security failures in products from Apple or Samsung, for instance, and didn't alert the companies to the weaknesses, rather choosing to exploit them to continue spying on people, well, that's going to raise a lot of issues between Silicon Valley and the government.
So what does this mean really for ordinary citizens like our viewers, like you and I?
Well, this is obviously a huge infringement on individual freedom. For instance, if you happen to type in a buzzword like terror into your smartphone, you could potentially become a target of CIA spies. But generally, if you have nothing to hide from foreign governments, you're probably okay. But cybersecurity experts do suggest keeping all your devices up to date. If you do have a smart TV, then you should probably turn it off from time to time. But there's probably no need to start turning off your washing machine or dishwasher. Not yet, at least.
I don't know. I think I might have to unplug that smart TV. That's frightening, all of that. Thank you so much, Titi Coron, for taking a look at what we've learned now from that latest WikiLeaks information dump. Let's take a look now at other big stories this week coming from south of the border. Manuel Noriega is in critical condition after undergoing 2 brain surgeries. The 83-year-old former dictator of Panama underwent a first procedure to remove a benign tumor from his brain. But after that surgery, doctors discovered a hemorrhage that forced them to go back in the same day. The former general ruled Panama with an iron fist in the 80s before being jailed in 1989. He was transferred from prison to house arrest in January to prepare for the operation. Argentina's ex-president Cristina Kirchner fended off corruption allegations in court this week. She's suspected of favoring a construction magnate for public contracts, and her family's real estate company is thought to have been involved in bribes. Hundreds of supporters rallied in her support as she arrived at the tightly guarded court to answer a summons by a federal judge. Kirchner says she's the victim of judicial persecution. And thousands of protesters marched through the streets of the Guatemalan capital this week, demanding the resignation of President Jimmy Morales. His popularity has dropped since his brother and elder son were caught up in a graft investigation. The former comedian was elected on a pledge to clean up Guatemalan politics after his predecessor was jailed in a corruption scandal. It's time now for the number of the week, 144. 144 transsexuals who were killed in Brazil last year. Brazil is the country with the highest number of transsexuals in the world. They are the celebrated queens of the famous Brazilian carnival, advertised around the world. But transsexuals are often ostracized, persecuted, and killed. Our reporters have more on why.
Dandara, a 42-year-old transsexual from Fortaleza in the north of Brazil, is seen being violently thrown in a wheelbarrow and beaten to death. Footage of the assault caused outrage on social media and turned the attention of many to the plight of Brazil's transsexuals. According to NGOs, 20 more killings have been reported since January. While Carnival celebrates them as queens, there is another, darker side to their story.
Camila was enjoying the carnival atmosphere on the streets of Rio when a group of men realized she was transsexual.
Aloa's friend Camila was killed last week.
The news said she was a transvestite who was assaulting people, but it's not true. We just wonder for how long this atmosphere of impunity is going to last.
As is usual, Camilla's killers haven't been found, so Eloa and a group of activist friends decided to take her case to City Hall.
As long as this is not criminalized, we won't survive.
But as religious lobbies grow stronger in the country, obtaining legal protection seems less and less likely.
Even within our city council, we have members who are elected on homophobic positions. They deny even the most basic rights to gay and transgender people, as if granting them rights were a privilege.
There is no specific legislation addressing crimes against transsexuals. And with 144 killings last year, Brazil is the transsexual murder capital of the world.
We handled this case in January of Sandro, a transsexual.
The police have been accused of indifference to the killings, a charge they say is misplaced.
The way we handle our cases is the same, regardless of the crime. You cannot judge an entire country based on only a few cases, especially not in a country as large as Brazil.
Assaulted and violated, sometimes by their own families, they come from all over the country to find refuge at Indianaras. In the heart of Rio, Casanim is a safe space for 30 transsexual victims like her.
We've already been way more in here. 65, 69 maybe during the Olympics. We don't exist. Brazilian society doesn't want anything to do with us. This vision that you foreigners have of Brazil, as if it was a paradise for transsexuals, it's an illusion.
To bring that illusion closer to reality, Casanim is offering legal services to its guests, who in the next few days will be in the streets demonstrating for their rights.
All right, we'll leave you now on a lighter note in the Florida Keys, where people of all ages took part in the annual conch shell blowing contest. That curvy shell is a symbol of the string of islands that sit off the mainland. Dozens of contestants squared off to blow the horn, including a 3-year-old girl. They were judged in everything from duration to loudness to novelty of the sounds produced. This year's winner for the women's division was Jane Chalman of Delaware. She says playing the trombone as a child taught her the puckering and blowing techniques required for successful conch honking.